First of all, before I do anything else, I'd like a motion to seal the non-public minutes, please. Motion by Ellen. Second by Lori. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Yes, forever and ever, or until we have to review them again. All right, so the minutes of the non-public are sealed. Welcome, everyone. It is 6:30. Adam, by the way, are we on, Adam? Oh, good, good. Okay. Should have thought about that first. All right, if you'd join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, we'll introduce the board for everyone. To my right, board member Ellen Falconer, then Peter Bakey, board member. To my immediate right, Ellie Alessio, our vice chair. Glenn Koppelman here, the current chair. To my left, Susan Ayer, our administrative assistant. Board member Lori Swed, and Sarah Buffano, who's back with us to help out with minutes for the summer. Yes? Great. Great. Thank you for coming back. Yeah. We'll see how you feel after you do a meeting or two. Okay, and we have various and sundry folks in the audience, I mean, some of whom will be coming up to speak with us, but we have Energy Committee Chair Rick Russman, Planning Board Chair Lynn Merrill, Town Planner Glenn Greenwood, Public Works Road Agent Tom Rowan, Tom Starakopoulos, and I'm not sure who the other person is, but Son. Oh, no, okay. And Phil Coombs is with us from Solid Waste Recycling Committee. Okay. All right, so the first order of business is we have two appointments. The first one is with Lynn Merrill. So Lynn, if you'd please come up at the table over there. Oh, and Glenn, gonna join her, okay. So again, we have Lynn Merrill with Chair of the Planning Board and Glenn Greenwood, Town Planner. The floor is yours, and please put the mics in front of you and make sure they're green.
Thank you. Glenn is with me tonight because after a lot of conversations, we decided that I didn't want to give hearsay. I really wanted everything to come straight from Glenn. Basically, we're here tonight, unfortunately, to talk with you again about Lone Tree Council. 3 years ago, when Eric Town decided to purchase the facility, he said he wanted to have a children's camp and also have a camp for young people who would be learning the trades. And the planning board gave him that approval. Grandfathered children's camp and extended it to the people learning the trades. However, he has expanded it greatly beyond that, and as you know, without a site plan, without permission, he wanted to do concerts, he wanted to have a campground, he wanted to have cabin rentals, wanted to have day visitors to come in and use the waterfront, among other things, none of which were approved by the site plan, none of which required any kinds of certificates of occupancy, any types of approvals at all for the type of facilities that we wanted to have. He came to the planning board said, we would love to have you do this sort of stuff. We have a campground ordinance. If you want to run a campground, please abide by the campground ordinance. If you want to have Airbnb type rentals, short-term rentals, fine. Come forward with that kind of a plan. If you want to have concerts, follow the concert plan. If you want to have people come in on a day basis, tell us what you're going to do, let's put it together, let's make sure we have the facilities, the parking, everything that's necessary to have. He also did improvements without any type of building permit. So when we found out that he was doing things that were not in the site plan, we called him forward. We said, we want you to do this. Would you please just do a site plan so that we can have the discussions and we can get moving and get the approvals in? He did not. And he continued to expand the uses. So we spoke with the select board. The select board came forward and did a cease and desist, which did indeed catch his attention. He met with the select board on December 2nd. So now we're 2.5 years in. On December 2nd, you did indeed issue the cease and desist, as reported to the planning board on the 3rd. You did say that you would not charge a fine, a daily fine, to give him 90 days to come forward with a site plan. And that site plan was due on the 28th of February. Glenn notified him in mid-February, I think it was February 11th, that we're coming up on the date. Do you have the plan? And he said he had a new engineer. A week later, he got back and said he had a new engineer. They were putting the final touches on the plan, and we would have the plan. And on the 28th, we did receive a plan. However, we did not have, we had an as-is plan. The buildings were labeled, but not labeled with any use. So there was no evidence of any type of change of use. There was also not an application for a site plan review. So Robin immediately got back to him and said, we need this to move forward. We need for you to fill out the application for a site plan review. He said, no, you told me we just needed to have a plan. I have a plan. I don't need to go any further. And we went back and said, yes, you do. And we've heard nothing since then until last week, I think.
No, I heard a couple of things.
Okay.
He in April said that he was interested in doing a site plan, but that he thought he had already provided us with one. And then in May, he said he'd like to, he was changing attorneys and would like to receive a copy of the cease and desist that the select board issued back in December or so. Or actually, it might have, no, I think it was actually even earlier than that. But in any event, those were sent to him. When told that what he provided us wasn't a site plan, he's not really acknowledging that. But we have no application. And all we have is, for the first time, a really good existing conditions plan. But that's what we have, is an existing conditions plan. There is no information supporting wanting to do different uses, or using the property in any way that varies from day camp for children and the potential for trades education for young people. Nothing. So we've given him a lot of opportunity.
Sounds like a lot of rope has been let out.
Yeah, we've tried to be as clear. I think he's saying or implying, although I haven't heard this from an attorney, because he does say he has switched attorneys, and I have not heard from whoever his new attorney is with any questions they might have about the cease and desist that I sent him just a week ago. But any indication that he says he didn't understand what the process is just disingenuous. I mean, Pedro and I met with him 8 months ago and outlined the entire process with him. That's not a supportable argument.
Last summer, he told us that he was not using it for those uses. We did a site walk. He had the people who were occupying the property leave just prior to the site walk, and they returned just before we finished our site walk. There were a lot of concerns with the property. during the sidewalk that we saw. And I guess we're at the point where it's about time for tenters and campers and day people and Airbnb type people to start occupying the property again. Memorial weekend is 2 weeks away. We think that it's probably time that, unfortunately, the town take action.
So, I don't have the information in front of me, but you said the cease and desist was issued on when? December?
The minutes of the meetings of September,
My question is,
We held it the town held it in abeyance to give them the opportunity to act.
well, the town chose not to do penalties, fee penalties,
right.
giving them the benefit of the doubt and giving them some time to get a site plan review done.
The cease and desist was actually, notice of action was actually taken on June 18th, 2024.
And was there a deadline by which he was supposed to have applied for site plan review?
28th of February of 2025.
Okay, so we're
2.5 months.
a couple of months and plus past that.
Yeah, at the select board December 2nd meeting, you gave him until February 28th to come forward for the site plan. And we received a existing conditions plan.
Did that cease and desist indicate that if they did meet that deadline, that penalties would be imposed? Did it go that far?
I don't believe so.
Okay. It doesn't mean that we can't do it.
I don't believe so.
I'm just curious if it said that much. Okay.
Because council wasn't with us that evening when the selectmen met with him. But the cease and desist had been issued before that meeting.
Okay. So you're here asking if the town will take perhaps some more stringent action. Obviously, the cease and desist is still in effect, yes? I assume so. But having missed the deadline now for submitting for site plan review, and again, one could, I suppose, use the argument that they didn't understand what site plan review was, but I've got to believe, Glenn, that between you and Lynn, it was made very clear to them what that process is.
It was made extremely clear, and their attorneys knew as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't that they weren't represented by council, land use council.
It's a false argument, I think, but just had to make sure that that was out there.
Are people sleeping there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the first time that type of thing came to our attention was in the fall of 2022, when there were homeless people on site that wanted town services.
I just didn't know if that was still going on.
There's still people living to the best of it, when we were there last summer, there were people occupying the buildings on a short-term rental basis.
And I'm assuming that no health officer has been there to inspect anything, is that correct?
I really don't know.
Don't know, okay.
Pressure was at the site plan, was at the site walk with us.
Yes,
Okay,
and he noticed a lot.
yeah.
Oh, in August, I think. Late August, maybe. It was lovely. The property's
Did you do
lovely.
any inspections down there? Did you do any inspections down there at all?
Never been on site.
Okay, so we were down there and I was on that site walk down at the Lone Tree Council, and there was numerous things. Fuel by the water, no hot water, it was health issues. Unitil went down and set a number of brand new poles, changed electrical services because it's private property. And I don't think there's any permits pulled on that. Tom is in the audience, says he's not done any inspections down there. There was just a number of things. I don't have my list on me now, but it was funny when we waited to get in, people were leaving just as fast. And then we were trying to get escorted out of there quickly to finish our inspection, and then they started coming back in again, setting up. So it was kind of comical, so it's definitely an issue down there that, again, that list was pretty extensive, it has to be done.
And certainly, I mean, that was the reason with the homeless people and becoming residents of Kingston and having to have services provided, with all of that is why we did the new campground ordinance. It was drawn up by our town council and was passed at town meeting in 2023. So, I mean, we have these ordinances in place that need to be followed.
Right.
And he was given our new campground ordinance.
Yeah,
So we need to shut him down.
we do.
It seems like we should,
Well, money talks. If he's, I mean,
Well, at the very least, he needs to be reminded, either directly or through the attorney or both, that the cease and desist is still in effect, that the site plan review requirement is still in effect and hasn't happened. And I would hope that at this point, the board would be making a motion to impose whatever fees are appropriate. And I don't have them in front of me, so I can't cite them.
And you may want to just shut it down so that we don't have people in the camp that are in unsafe conditions.
That was another big thing. Even if he continues what he wanted to do, it's definitely safety issues. Exit lights, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Electrical, there was extension cords running out windows. It was crazy down there. So that it has to be inspected thoroughly before even he has the campsites down there.
never mind the water and what may be going
Exactly.
in there and so forth.
Yeah.
I think we can reissue the cease and desist, issue some fines, and shut him down. I mean, it's the only way we're gonna affect any change to improve what's happening in that property. He can't just do what he wants and tell us to go pound sand.
I think we've been more than accommodating.
You think?
And the problem is people are seeing that and they're saying, well, they can get away with it. Why should I go to the planning board for anything?
Exactly.
Do we need to have inspectors back out there, building, electrical, and health out there so we can document everything so that it gives us more justification to shut them down, not just impose fines? Like, can we do emergency inspections out there because we've heard whatever?
Can we just shut them down because they're in total violation?
I don't know. Do we need to be very specific about the code violations before we shut them down?
Well,
No,
They're in violation of the site plan.
right. It's a simple-
Well, there's other places that have been in violation of site plans that we haven't shut them down. My point is, if we're gonna do it from a code thing, do we need to be very clear about what they're in violation of, other than just shutting them down because they don't have a site plan?
That's a great idea. I would be worried that they would do that list that you're gonna give them to take care of those issues, and then they think they're gonna resume camp, and then they're in violation. So it's two situations here. Sure. It's the site plan, plus it's the health, the safety, the fire.
The only one that could go on right now is the health officer for health and safety
Okay.
reasons. No one else has permission,
Okay.
and he could give it to us. I just don't want to see this drag out. The summer is upon us. If we don't take some action now, there's no way that we're going to affect any change in the positive way for this summer.
I get it. I think at this point that, we've had the planning board come in and tell us straight out that they have no site plan approval for any of the uses, basically, that they're doing on site. Once that's shut down, and they want to go any further and do things, then all types of inspectors can go in, and you can find a whole other list of things that they're not doing correctly, and they'd have to upgrade all of that stuff to get any of the uses approved by the planning board. So I think, I don't know what we have to do to actually, I hate to do it, I hate to say this, but we might have to contact council.
we do,
But,
and,
I think that we should do whatever we need to do to just shut them down.
okay. And just so that the board
And
knows.
fine them if they ignore the shutdown.
$100 a day?
We actually had, sometime last year, we had a meeting with council and with Pedro, I believe, to discuss the situation, and various steps were laid out. And again, I don't have those notes in front of me, but I think an action like this is we need to make sure we do it the right way.
Because it might wind up needing a court order,
well, whatever.
so,
So
The cease and desist is very directly written. It outlines exactly what they need to do and what we consider their shortcomings are.
and the fact that they've ignored that, now I just want somebody to tell us straight out that this is what you need to do to shut them down and to establish a fine and let them know how that is, and that if it's something we have to then go to court on to have a judge do, we have done the steps we need to make sure that this is enforceable.
I don't know that we have a fine schedule, so how would we assess what the fines are? I don't know that we have anything,
Well, we'd have to talk to Pedro,
okay,
because we don't, you and I don't know whether
yeah.
Aren't there usually some built into the cease and desist
there were some.
that are legal? Yeah.
And I think there's some guidance by state as to whether it's an individual or a corporation, what the fines can be.
Okay, because I don't think Kingston has anything defined as far as,
We used to have something that said $100 a day for certain things, but it's been a long time since
Right.
I've read
Yeah,
that.
and the zoning ordinance was amended to cite the state RSA that allows
Yes.
for, at least for zoning issues, a set daily penalty.
right.
And that was a part of our ordinance
Okay.
just a couple of years ago.
And by the way, the sidewalk was September 28th.
So what's the board's pleasure?
Shut them down.
Would you like me to contact council and make sure that we've got the right steps in place? And
Yes. as
because
soon-
because that action should probably come from them.
The fine, it's in the cease and desist.
Thank you.
I finally found it. The following violations will continue to occur and must immediately cease. Occupancy during the off-season after October 15th. Use as a seasonal general recreational campground, and I'm not doing the paragraphs after them. Music, concerts, using the beach as a boat launch as advertised in the Facebook posting, use of the property with day passes, and it says, you're hereby notified that the uses listed above on the property are in violation of the Kingston Town ordinances. You're hereby ordered to abate violations by immediately ceasing all of the above unpermitted uses, number 2 through number 5, by July 9th, 2024. Failure to cure the violations on the property within the stated time may result in fines under the Kingston ordinances and RSA 676:17, not to exceed $275 each day, during which the violations continue to exist beyond the date you receive this notice. Finally, per RSA 676:17, in addition to civil penalties, you will be responsible for paying the town's legal costs incurred in pursuing this enforcement action. Given that you were first notified violations numbers 1 and 2 by letter dated December 19th, 2023, but at present use number 2 listed above continues use. Number 2 listed above continues on the property, you may be subject to accumulating fines of $275 per day, starting December 19th, 2023, until this unpermitted use is ceased.
He's like,
That takes care of our revenue issue.
oh, that'll pay for a part-time building inspector, don't you think?
Just saying, that's what it says.
Yeah, so do we have a motion to authorize Glenn to talk to
So
council
moved.
about shutting this down?
As soon as possible.
I'll second that.
All right, motion by Ellie, second by Ellen. Further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. I will do that tomorrow, if not sooner.
We may have to add some things to that because the camp, I mean, he's got, how many campsites on there now?
Well, after I speak with council, I will let both of you know what the conversation was, and because I suspect that that they will probably want to perhaps have more information or have conversation. But I'll refer back to the existing cease and desist, and we'll see where.
Yeah, of course, and include Pedro in that, and we may need police action to shut it down, right?
Well, yeah.
Glenn, I just want to clarify that it's Lone Tree Campground we're talking about. Lone Tree Council was mentioned a couple of times, and I think that's a different thing. So I didn't want to be smirched.
Actually, it's Lone Tree Summer Camp LLC.
Okay.
Is that what the name was when the cease and desist was issued? So it's under that name?
That's, yeah, right here. On the cease and desist.
Just want to make sure that that's consistent. So Lone Tree Summer Camp LLC. Okay. All right. We'll get back to you as soon as we know something.
We may get back to you to get copies soon.
Thank you for coming in and letting us know. Council, town council. Okay, next appointment is the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee. Mr. Coombs, are you representing the group? I am. Okay. You know the drill with the mic. Thank you.
Phil Coombs, Solid Waste Chair. We had a meeting last Thursday after having been given a copy of the RFQ for review. And first thing I wanted to touch on was the schedule. So the committee feels that we still need to get the data from the collection center, and the end of September will mark 2 years that we've been operating the collection center. So we wanted to get the data put together and present it to the select board the first week of November of 2025. And then based on a Board of Selectmen decision, after that presentation, the RFQ could be ready for release in 8 January of 2026. This would allow for a bidder response conference on 13 February, and again, these dates are approximate, with a final release date of the RFQ on 7 April of 2026, with an expectation of responses due 13 May of 2026. This would then allow for the committee and the select board to evaluate the responses, or the committee to evaluate the responses, make recommendations to the select board no later than 8 June of 2026, and then executing the contract 13 July of 2026. So what this would allow is that would meet the 18-month award deadline that we had heard from the vendors, and still puts us well ahead of any stated timeline from the vendors. So that was the first part that we discussed on Thursday. The other was the RFQ itself. We had been told that this had gone to legal for review. The draft had?
Yes, it has.
It has?
Yes.
Okay.
I think the general consensus was, and I think it was an excellent starting point, but if legal looked at that and they didn't have any responses or additions to that, I think we really need to bring in some specialized assistance on this. This is the largest contract that the town participates in. This will be a 5-year contract, and the existing one that we're under, the last year of it will be over or close to $900,000 per year that we're spending. And we're obviously hoping that by removing curbside recycling, this will be a significantly cheaper contract, but it'll still be over $500,000-$600,000. Just because an attorney is good at municipal law and making recommendations on certain things, I think this is one of those ones where we really need specialized assistance from a contract specialist, a negotiation specialist, and I think that is probably the primary thing that needs to be done, or that our request would be of the select board, to kind of put a RFQ together, the terms and conditions, because we found the final award with waste management versus what we were putting out with an RFQ, there were a couple gaps. And I think if the goal is to protect ourselves from the previous situation where we were just kind of left at the mercy of the vendor, it would be worth the town's while to bring someone in and do this right from the start. So that's kind of the Reader's Digest version of the discussion, and all who were present agreed with that. So I guess, what are your thoughts?
Laurie, did you have any comment? Because you're you're on that committee.
No, I don't. As Phil said, we talked about the timelines, understanding that it's, you know, a little squishy with just the contract. The new contract begins 1 Jan 2028. Can't move that date, right? And awarding the contract 18 months out is July of 2026. Everything else before that is, you know, squishy, a little bit left, a little bit right. But I think we did recognize that we probably need some professional contract help in drafting something that is gonna be beneficial for us.
Did the committee have any recommendations of possible sources of that special help?
I don't even know that we are sure if we need somebody just helping draft an RFQ. Because I think we also want help in doing the right timeline. And do we release a draft and then, you know, I mean, just the certain steps along the way, but then also the legal ease of a contract. And, you know, I do want to recognize Chuck Margosian's efforts. They were great, and they're a great starting point, but it has to have some legal ease in it, and there was just some data points missing that we need to make sure that's in a contract.
I mean, I didn't want to jump down the rabbit hole without the board at least considering it, but there are certainly law firms that specialize in contract negotiation. And, you know, if that went to an attorney, didn't come back with like any boilerplate information that should have gone out with it, that's kind of ridiculous. And so, again, I'm not saying they're not good attorneys for things that the town uses them for on a regular basis, but there are different attorneys that specialize in different things, and I can certainly get a referral and pass it along if that's what the board is interested in doing. But I think this goes beyond just the solid waste contract. There are other big contracts that the town gets involved in that it would be good to have someone that we know, you know, fights for our best interest and is always representing the town in these high dollar matters.
I'm wondering if we've even checked to see if our counsel's firm has perhaps specialization in, maybe because we know that, you know, we have a couple of attorneys we deal with there depending on the issue that's at hand. And I'm wondering if maybe there's someone, it's a fairly substantial firm. I don't know if they have that capacity, but they deal with municipalities a lot. And it would be easy to ask the question. And if you have other suggestions, that would be helpful as well. But thoughts from the board?
I got a few things. I'm not sure which attorney reviewed it, and it was with Drummond Woodsum that Paula had sent it to. So, and I attended the meeting last week as well, and that one of the questions, you had a couple questions about what was not in the contract, in the request for quotes. And if it wasn't for Chuck Margosian, we wouldn't even have had this far along. So we've made some good progress. I really don't want to wait till next January to send out the request for quotes, because I think there might be a couple of reiterations. I agree with someone that does solid municipal waste contracts, reviewing it. I think that's a good way to go. I really do, because this is other than what we pay for the schools, this is the biggest ticket we have. But the board has already decided we were not going to continue curbside recycling, and whether we go with the RFQ now or 3 months from now, that has no impact on the collection center. That's a whole nother issue. In my opinion, it may not be for everybody, but that doesn't mean we're not going to have a collection center and help the community recycle goods on a periodic basis, but it shouldn't have anything to do with the solid waste contract.
Well, it does, because, I mean, we're using a few dumpsters a month at that collection center. So that should be something we should be negotiating with the next potential vendor of, if that's the model that we're going with, that we're still using dumpsters, well, we should probably put that into the contract, that this is the price for a dumpster and this is what it costs. Because right now, it was just an add-on with Waste Management, and we just kind of took what they gave us.
Right.
It's outside of the contract, and I think there are things that the next vendor could do to be more supportive of our recycling efforts if we are continuing to keep the collection center open. Because to just throw the townspeople to the wolves and just saying, yeah, you get one toter and good luck, figure it out, I think we have to put a little more thought into it than that.
I just don't see the support from the community. I don't see it. I mean, there's some, I'm not saying there's none, there is some. You get 100 cars a month that go in.
Let's talk about the collection center separately from the
Yeah,
RFQ.
it is two separate issues. I
So-
definitely agree with that.
Right. So I think before we issue an RFQ, we need to put ourselves in a position where we kind of know what we're talking about and that we're putting our best foot forward with an RFQ. And so there's work, it needs work. And if we were to send that out on the street right now, it would not, I don't think we would get the right kind of responses. Because there's information missing that we need to be the ones that are putting it out there and not the bidders telling us, oh, you forgot about this, you forgot about that. It just puts us in an awkward position if we don't know what we're talking
That's
about.
why you'd have a bidders conference to discuss those. An RFQ is the initial step. You'd still have to do proposal. You'd still have to have a contract with legalese in it. I mean, you'd still have to have more meat to the substance between the agreement with whoever the vendor was and the town. It costs us $50 more a ton to recycle, and the recycling, except for the cardboard, ends in the trash.
I know all of that.
Well, the general public
We're
doesn't know
talking
all
about the RFQ for municipal solid waste and how we need to get there to get it out on the street. And I think we said we're doing an RFQ. I don't know that we need an RFP. It's a quote. We know what we need. We need you to pick up our trash. Like, we know what we need. We don't need a proposal on how they're going to do it. So we just need more work on the RFQ. It is not ready to go out to the public. How we get there, I don't know. I mean, we were all in favor at the meeting, and you were present, and you were active in the discussion, that we probably need to engage some professional help in helping us get this RFQ to the point where we can distribute it.
And you said you supported that.
I supported going to a legal counsel. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
And Phil brought that up. I thought that was a good point. Someone that specialized in solid waste contracts.
Yes.
I definitely agree with that.
Okay.
But that's about as where we stop.
Let's
Okay.
okay. Peter?
Maybe Phil could come up with an attorney's name for us. I'd like to put support in our town's attorney, but you would think if we gave them an RFQ of that size to look at, they would have directed to somebody in their firm that had expertise in that.
You would think so,
There you go.
but I think it's worth a question.
It could be worth the question, but maybe he could come up with somebody we could contact, or, you know, there's other towns that I'm sure have gone through this RFQ or P or whatever you want to call it, that maybe we can get some direction from somebody else to get this on the right direction.
I don't want it to drag, because I think that it's gonna take time and all those steps in between to even be leasing, never mind accepting. If the goal is that this time next year, or June 1st of 2026, to be able to award the contract, and we back up from there, we still need to get going now. It's not something that's gonna happen overnight.
Exactly, that's what this is for. Yes, we're not sitting and doing nothing until then. We need to, that's why, yes, we need to work on it now. Yes.
Okay. So, with the board's permission, I will reach out. I'll make sure that we at least check with our current counsel to see if they do have that specialization, just so that we know. It's an easy question. They should be able to answer it quickly. And, well, and you're right, and who it is. And Phil, if you can, in your role as the chair of the committee?
Gladly.
Make some suggestions if you can to us. Hold on, Lori.
So then what's the next step after that? Because we'll come back and we'll have the same discussion and the same disagreements. So what's the next step?
I'm one voice, I don't know what disagreement.
Well, I think we need to find the attorney, then give him that RFQ. Have him look at it. Have that attorney that's expertise in it. So
Right.
let's find some attorneys
And once we've had the appropriate review and everyone's satisfied that the document itself is what we need to go out on the street, then the board will need to take that action and put it out at whatever the appropriate time is.
So, okay, so then it goes back to, say that happens and we're good and we go back and forth and we have it ready in 4 months. And I don't know what that is, October or something like that. So were we gonna make up another timeline, or are we gonna go by what's suggested?
When will the RFQ be done?
I don't,
Right
well,
now?
we have dates. It needs to be done by a certain point.
So are you guys committing to these dates to have the RFQ ready to go to whoever needs to review it based on this?
We'll commit to it if the board is saying, yes, we're gonna allow for help.
My
Sure.
suspicion would be if we found someone who was actually a professional contract writer, they're probably not going to want, they'll just want our details, what we want to see,
And they'll write it.
and they'll carry it forward from there. So I think that part would be out of our hands. However, it would be any request for information that they're needing, or, we can be in contact with them and provide them, so that can be working.
That's why I'm
concurrently.
asking, because it's like, so are you waiting to have an attorney look at it once you've written it, or are you just trying to get some ideas and then you want to be able to bounce it off somebody who will then write you the RFQ?
Again, I think what we have right now is a great framework, and it lays out the basics of what the town would like to see, and I think there are some details within it that are up for debate, or not even up for debate, but just, need to be refined, but it's enough for someone to get started on a professional RFQ. I think from there, it's just a matter of answering that professional's opinion, or answering that professional's questions and providing them with the information they need to do their thing.
So what we need then is a couple of names that the board can just vote to send it to.
Correct.
So we don't need to meet again for that, other than you guys put something to us and say, we have these names, and we can get that sent out ahead of time, and then they have contact information, and then you'll bring it back to us November 10th. Is that right?
Or way before that.
Well,
I mean,
that
that's to us, that's the deadline that the board is gonna look at what's gonna be released, is November 10th. So that gives us plenty of time to work with people and come up with the product that's what we think, we being the board, is ready for release.
So the next step
Yes.
is just using the current RFQ and finding some names for the board to then vote on who they want to send it to, and then contact somebody on your task force. So,
Yes.
that's it. Okay. Then we should do that.
And I'll be contacting our council to see if there is somebody, and Mr. Coombs is going to check to see if he can suggest some possibilities as well.
Okay.
Okay. Lori, anything further?
Other than, I
Is
just
that
put,
concrete, is that concrete or too squishy, or?
well, no, no, I'm good with that. But to work this, it would be the highway agent, it would be the chair, myself as the liaison, and do we want 2 other people to work on this project for the RFQ, or is that sufficient with 3 people? I kind of listed 2 others if we wanted additional input.
I mean, are you suggesting that we put out a request for individuals who might be interested, or?
It's up for the board to decide that. I mean, I don't know.
Isn't it?
I don't know how many people we want involved in it.
Isn't a good part of what you need now actually going to be somebody else reviewing it and then getting back to you guys with their recommendations?
We think so,
I
yeah.
don't know that you need extra people on
Yeah.
that, but I'll go along with whatever your group wants.
Right, I mean, I just want to throw it out there to see if there's a couple ways to handle this particular part of it.
I mean, we have open meetings, and
Yeah.
Ms. Alessio is present, and all viewpoints are considered before, votes are taken. So if there are people who feel strongly about it, they're certainly welcome to be part of the discussion.
Okay.
Are you comfortable, Phil, with the folks who are involved now, carrying it at this point?
I mean, other than Lori, yeah. That was a joke. Yes.
Okay,
I'm good.
you done? You all set? I'm sorry.
Yes,
Are you all set? Are you all set, I should say. Please don't put that in the minutes, Sarah.
So I will send her, I will see what I can find, and I'll have that sent over to Susan by this Friday.
All right. It turns out I'm going to be talking with council anyway on another matter, so I will ask that question at the same time, and I have to do that communication first thing tomorrow morning, if not tonight. So I'll let you know what I find out.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We stopped talking about the collection center, and I think we need to, in my opinion, I would love to see the collection center deal with stuff that we can't throw out in the trash, like mattresses, like unused appliances that we find on the roads, unfortunately, like sponsoring a shredding event. There are some, those are things that that may generate more interest, more support from the community than glass and cardboard. Cardboard's the only thing right now that's recyclable that we actually get money for. Everything else ends up in the waste stream. It doesn't do us any good, and yet we're paying $50 more a ton for the recyclable and with the stuff in the yellow labeled bins. It's just, we have no choice but to do that while we have a contract with Waste Management, and that goes to the end of '27. That's why this contract is important. When I first came on the board, we were in the middle of deciding who was our next trash pickup, and we were not, as a board, really ready to make that choice wisely, and ended up with Waste Management as no other option. And kudos to Mr. St. James, who tried to get another bid, another waste contract person come in to take, but it was too late. And so I'm expressing urgency and not wait till the last moment. The further we can move this along, I think, to be better for the town, because there may be need for more discussion. Maybe there'll be more input from the community. It's easy to sit back and do nothing, and I understand that, and people expect us to do it all, but sometimes you need support from the community for recycling. You can't just make them want to do it. They have to do it themselves. Anyways.
And that's true. I don't volunteer at the collection center, other people do. I do avail myself of it when I have enough material to bring. It's a building process. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
And as long as we're still providing curbside recycling, the numbers are probably going to stay fairly modest.
Correct.
But between now and the time that stops, there's an opportunity to build the numbers and build the awareness, and that by the time the curbside piece stops, there would hopefully be more demand for it. The other thing I have a question about, and maybe someone can help me on this, is that I realize that we don't get money for the glass, but if we take it out of our MSW, doesn't that reduce the weight and therefore is saving us money? So there really is a financial benefit to bringing the glass to the collection center, even though we're not getting cash for it. There's some savings involved.
Yes.
There's some.
Trash is, I'm just gonna give you an average, $85 a ton. When they pick up the dumpster of glass, they charge us $45 a ton. So that's a $40 ton savings on that part, so.
Plus the cost of the dumpster.
Ellie, I understand that part, and we're looking at ways to reduce that, or you could throw that 2,000 tons of glass back in the trash, and then you're paying $40 more a ton. I mean, there's 6 ways to look at it, and that's why the board approved and decided that we were gonna present data on the collection center so that we can give you numbers on the actual numbers, and we can agree on the volunteer time, all, you know, but the numbers are the numbers. The bills are the bills, and that's what's gonna show us what's going on.
What, Peter?
It's all right, we
I
can move
just,
on.
yeah, I think we're kind of getting off our agenda here.
Well, we are, and I was ready
This
to
is
move on,
important.
but you know, a board member wanted to speak about the collection center, so,
And then we'll bring it up again.
well, I know. And we will talk about it again, obviously, as a board, but,
Yes, yes.
but it is tangentially related, but it's not a direct item regarding the RFP, RFQ, so, okay. Public comment number 1. Mr. Margosian? Okay, bring one of the microphones in front of you and make sure it's on green,
Chuck
and set it on the
Margosian.
table.
The 2 points I want to make. There is a fixed schedule for getting this RFQ, getting this next contract done. One event keys off the other. That's important to understand. The first being the release of the RFQ. The second, and extremely important, is the contractors, proposed folks to come in and to talk about what they've read in our RFQ. I've done many of these over 40 years on both sides of the table. Expect the unexpected. So if they, for example, see that we've made a requirement they can't live with, and they all agree, we have to make some changes, which is going to cause the board to go back and to take a look at what modifications they have to make to the RFQ, and then reissue an amendment to the RFQ, et cetera, et cetera. That's how it goes. So I would be very surprised if on the first shot, getting vendors in here, and everybody said this is the time we're gonna do it. We've got the technical requirements and the performance requirements of the town, and then we've got as much legal language in there from our council already that they have to go through with their attorneys. This takes time. They're not gonna sit down in a week and go through this and say, you know, we're gonna do it. The other thing is, I believe that because this potential contract goes over $25,000, it has to be made publicly known, does it not? We have to legally advertise in a legal notice.
Correct.
So while we know that there are 4 current vendors that are interested in this, we don't know who else is going to come in, weigh in on this, and what they're going to bring into the conversation. What I'm getting at is that getting that bidders conference moved up, the sooner the better. You can still push out the award date a little bit, but it does buy us time in order to make any adjustments that need to be made. That's it.
Thank you very much. Anyone else for public comment? Mr. Coombs?
Sorry, but I'm of your statements, Ms. Alessio. Cardboard is not the only thing that makes money. HDPE, metal, aluminum, and newsprint all make money, decent money. Paper and light-density polyethylene make pennies, but they don't cost $163 a ton, or even $85 a ton is what we're paying for trash. Glass is the only thing that costs us money to throw away that's a recyclable product, and we've come up with ways to make it cheaper already. The collection center was set up with a trial basis in mind, so we are not providing the most cost-efficient service possible. We are providing what is easy to get a DES permit for, that we can make a phone call and it'll disappear tomorrow. So there's no cleanup costs, we don't have to put a lengthy service plan in place, we don't have to lengthy cleanup plan in place. So that is why we are doing things the way we are doing right now. We can make it 100% more efficient for not a lot of cost. The way we are doing it right now is just to evaluate whether this is something that can even be done. So I'd like to correct that. Second of all, this is done, the lion's share of the work on this project is done by volunteer hours, who give up their Saturdays to come there and work there. So that should not be forgotten in this entire discussion. If we decide to suspend curbside recycling, there will still be, I don't know the current tonnage amount that is still going to be in the town of Kingston that needs to be hauled away to the magical place where everybody thinks their trash goes and it just is never seen again. That is still going to exist as a problem. So we are going to have to tackle this problem one way or the other. It's either our garbage costs are going to double, or we're going to have to figure something out with it. If people do not have a yellow-topped recycling bin in their garage to roll down to the end of the street, they are probably more prone to use a collection center, or they're going to try and squeeze it in their one tote that they're allotted from the town. 2 years ago, we spent $244,000 on recycling. Last year was around $220,000. That's a drop of $24,000 that I attribute, at least in some part, to the recycling committee. So we have been bringing costs down under our existing contract, and that will continue to take place. But what you need to remember is the rate that we have right now is under the assumption that we have recycling with them. They're not going to give us the same haul rate for just trash, because we're not the only town who's just a genius and has suddenly figured out that recycling is twice as much as trash. They've all told us that trash is going to go up if you're just doing trash. So that's a big unknown. And while I'm up here saying it, I've seen it on Facebook, I've heard people say it up here, trash does not go to the landfill. There is a material recycling facility in Billerica, Mass. that the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee took a tour of. It's very large, it's very impressive, it's in the old Boston Globe building. I have lots of pictures of it. I'm going to post it in one of our Facebook posting because this goes on. If you see the same truck come, usually it's because someone forgot a bin or someone forgot a street, and yeah, they just throw it in the trash truck. But we have a contract with Waste Management to process these as recyclables, so that is fraud. That would be a $1 billion company committing fraud against the town of Kingston if they were hauling it to the landfill. Okay, so just everybody needs to know that recycling is actually recycled. The committee has gone and toured both of the material recycling. There's one in Rochester, there's one in Billerica, so just to clear that up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any comments on the thoughts that there may be needed to be time for adjustments and things of that nature that Mr. Margosian brought up on the contract while you're right here?
I think the key step we've achieved tonight is that the board is willing to engage the services of a professional to handle the contracts and handle the negotiations. I think we have the framework there to give that person a good start, and I think that person should be consulted on all our future timelines. As Ms. Schwed has said, July of next year is our 18-month mark before the end of the contract, and that's when the contract should be awarded. Working back from there, I think if we have a professional, they can guide us through that process and we can make this work.
Thank you.
Okay. Any public comment? Mr. Russman.
While we're at it, I would just say, I think you're going to find, from a legal standpoint, that the contract portion of it, my guess is that, from what I understand, our council does a lot of municipal work. And so my guess is they've been called upon to look at other contracts. I mean, unless you hire somebody like general counsel for Casella or Waste Management, that's all they do, which you're not going to be able to do. But I suspect any good municipal attorney, which apparently we have, there'll be somebody there that you can probably rely on, and they seem to turn stuff around pretty fast in that office, so my guess is they'll probably be accommodating to you.
We'll find out very shortly. Thank you, Rick. Anybody else for public comment? Okay, moving on. Committee liaison reports. I'm going to start with Lori.
We have a rec commission meeting this week. Last week, we talked about instituting background checks. I'd spoken with Paula before her departure. It's only $20 for background checks for volunteers, so that's, you know, kind of very negligible amount. I have the process and the forms that they need to fill out, so it's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Yeah. We had a museum committee meeting. They are ready to award the Boston Post cane.
Oh, cool.
They, unfortunately, the person they thought they were gonna award it to, they needed to find another person. So,
Okay.
I was like, how do I say this? How do I say this?
It's kind of a hazard of that
It
activity.
truly is a hazard of being that person.
Right.
So they're going to, so the certificate will be signed by the chair of the select board, and depending on the person, they may not want a lot of people there, right? So they're gonna check with the family to see how open they are to, you know, a bunch of people, or just, you know, the bare minimum to present the cane and the certificate. We take the cane back, right?
Would we do that? Would they have an appointment to do it at a select board meeting?
Oh, well, probably not. We probably are going to the person, depending on the circumstances.
Oh, okay.
Right. So depending on where it is,
Yeah.
they may just want a couple people there.
Okay.
So if hopefully that'd be great if they could come in and we could, you know.
If they're able to, I think that would be
Absolutely.
terrific.
Right. So the museum's going to get all those details.
Okay.
Pretty much that's it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So between last meeting and now, I figured out what it was that I forgot the last time. And I made a note of it. Okay. So it relates to the 300th anniversary of the Plains Cemetery. I've mentioned it before that there's an event coming up, but I wanted to, there was something that I needed to ask the board. First of all, this is a flyer that they've presented. It's been on Facebook, and I don't know if it's on the town's website or not, but I have two questions regarding that for the board. One is that it's on May 31st of this year. There are two tours of the cemetery, one at 10 o'clock and one at 1 o'clock. And at noontime, in between the two tours, there will be a celebration, a presentation where we've invited various political folks, and most of our reps have responded, and our state senator, as well as folks from Division of Historic Resources and some others. Some of them will be speaking. They won't have long time because it's only a 1-hour block, but they will have an opportunity to speak. The governor has done a proclamation which will be read during that. I have been asked to do an opening of the event, and then there will be an MC to carry it from that point. I want to make sure that the board is okay with me doing that.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And want to make sure that any other board members are welcomed and encouraged to attend. So if you would like to be there, it would be wonderful. So you don't need to make a commitment at this point, but it would be nice if we could have more than just me there representing the board.
I talked to Ernie today about what I had to do to sign up, so I have to wear my little pin.
There you go, and you all have your name tags. So if you come, use your name tag. All right. Okay, so that's what I needed to say. Ellie?
The planning board met the other night, and
Your microphone, please.
yes, I didn't get you this time. There were no hearings this past Tuesday, excuse me. You did hear from Lynn and Glenn on Lone Tree. There was a request of information of the planning board to locate a farm stand on Exeter Road for homemade soaps and essential oils. So I'm sure that's gonna go through some process, but it is a farm stand, and that'll be on Exeter Road. The planning board is also working on an RFP for the master plan that we had approved in the budget, and we've partly done this year and partly done next year. If there are community profile items you'd like to have the planning board consider, I would suggest getting that into Robin before next Monday. The one thing I thought of that I will contact her on is the Envision Kingston project that we had, and there may be some items in there that might be appropriate to include.
Oh, you mean the capital improvement plan? Is that what you were referring?
No, I'm talking about the master plan.
Oh, sorry.
Master plan.
Got it, got it.
Capital improvement plan.
No,
Right,
I
gotcha.
got it.
All right. And, let's see. And then they also talked a lot about increasing ordinance that may allow increased density for housing, but that's not, it's still going through Concord, and we don't know where that's gonna land. So they may be imposing some more unfunded mandates.
Yeah, in all likelihood, our town, as well as many other towns, are going to be forced to change their zoning ordinances and reduce lot sizes and do various things like that, so. It won't affect us probably as much as communities that have municipal water and sewer, but there are items that probably will be affecting us, so. But until the legislature is completely done with the process, we don't know.
Plus the fact that 70% of our town is under the aquifer protection zone, so that has some bearing on the density issues as well, so.
Right.
That's it for me.
Okay, thanks, Ellie. Peter?
Far as Marissa goes, I guess she's, we'll talk about that, as far as she took on the treasurer's position, finance
Officer.
And you'll have that memorandum going back to staff, and Tom is going to be speaking to the board. We met down at the highway garage. I had Pedro go down, and we discussed on a letter he was sending reference to the front railings. It was a question from the person who manufactured the railings that they were like that because they were code compliant. Long story short is they weren't. So Tom's gonna address that. Besides that, that's all I got.
Okay, so with regard to the railings, it is on the, it's our next item, so we'll call you up, Tom, for more detail on that when we get to that. I'm sorry?
What board were you speaking of? Oh, the highway agent. Okay.
Is your mic on? Well, please put it on before we get the window wrapping going on. Okay.
No, it's on. Put that down.
I mean, at this point, between you and Peter, you've been working with the filling of the spot for the finance officer. Maybe now would be a good time to.
I was going to let you.
Well, I could, or you could, because
Well, I
you and
can.
Peter have been doing most of the heavy lifting on that.
Yeah, well, Peter and I, knowing that Paula had decided to move on to another opportunity, Peter and I spoke with Marissa, who'd been training with Paula and who had applied for the job originally a few years ago, but had different family commitments, so couldn't actually commit to the full-time position. So Peter and I spoke with Marissa after authorized by the board, and Marissa has agreed to take over the position of finance officer. She has an extensive financial background. We're very pleased that she's able to, at this point, be able to step up into that position. And she started as of this morning, as of this point. I don't know if I have to go through any other details,
No,
but.
we wish her well, for sure.
Exactly.
Well, we're really pleased that we were able to do this with existing staff. It meant for a seamless transition, and that that particular office is not vacant now. There is a learning curve, clearly, but she has a very good background and will be taking whatever appropriate training that she needs to fill in the gaps that she might not have. And The other piece that we probably should mention is that has left the human services function now,
Yes, she has, as of this morning.
And the board, I don't think we need to go into detail at this point, but the board is working on filling that spot and making that all work, and we'll give you more details once we've got that all figured out. The other piece that we could mention is that, and again, not a lot of details right now, but the position that that Paula vacated was both finance and human resources. And the position that Marissa has stepped into is a redefined spot of finance officer without the human resources function as part of it. And that's another piece that the board is actively working on, getting a resolution to and making sure that we have that function working properly in town. And again, just so that folks know that, you know, we haven't dropped the ball on this, we're working on it, and in fairly short order, we'll have some answers to let people know. So
That's about it.
okay, and nothing else?
That was the big one.
That was a big one. Oh, I know that was a big one, but
No, everything else is moving along. I have to meet with a couple other people. I have appointments coming up this week. But so far, that's where we are.
okay, thanks.
Okay.
All right, next item under old business is an update on the railings for the front stairs. Tom, would you like to join us?
Good evening.
Nick?
I think we all know the story. I think we went over that last week. I reached out to him the following day. Fairly quiet this previous week, and so today I reached out to Ryan. We were on the phone, and I just heard from through an email. I was CC'd through Anthony, and the resolution is coming, I believe. They are aware shop drawings don't match the architectural drawing, don't match this, don't match that, you know. So I think an on-site visit with all parties involved is going to happen. That was about 5 o'clock when he sent the email, so I haven't reached out to him. But I think it's probably a good idea, at least my liaison be present.
Yes.
Maybe 2. I know after 2 it gets a problem, but.
Yeah, I mean, 2 is fine.
Yeah, just let's, you know, at least you or one select person. Let's get it resolved and done. And
Well, Peter, you're the liaison for highway, so it should be Peter at the very least.
Right.
And primarily Peter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So that's where we're at. So tomorrow I'll be talking to him, and because they're anxious to get it done, we're anxious. So let's.
Yes.
And I think we're on the right path now. I think we're, you know, the bottom line is we're not paying, and we want our railings the way we want our railings.
Well, we want the railings the way that we approved them.
Right.
Per the drawings and information we had.
Yes.
Yes. And what was going to be installed did not appear to be that. So, well, we're glad you're on the case, Tom.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the board on this issue? No. Tom, did you have anything else while you're here?
Well,
with us?
while I was sitting here, did you want to touch base with the Plains Electrical? Sure. Is that, or am I throwing that?
Sure,
out?
it's under board business, but we can do it now.
Oh, yeah, I mean, whatever your preference is, I just figured I was up here.
Well, no, I don't, I think they're probably curious about where we stand with that. So, Tom, why don't you update us on where we are with that?
All right, so as you asked, to get a professional electrician, a qualified electrician, I should say. So I reached out to My sister had an electrician, out-of-town electrician. That didn't work out. So I reached out to our deputy inspector, who doesn't have a horse in the race. So I asked him to consider it without bias. Gave him the 6. He looked over them. His recommendation came down to 2, very close in price. And I talked with him, and I guess he made some good points. His final, or our decision, was Kingston Electric. A number of factors, but that was his decision, and but again, it's a board decision. There are a few others that are less expensive, but we went over a few reasons why he chose who he chose, and I tend to agree with him. So that's where that came. But again, it's not mine, it's not his, but that was his recommendation, and I agree with it. So
Do we have anything that we can review, like
did you?
Like kind of an analysis of
Right.
how we got to this point?
Well, yeah. So 6.
Oh, there were 6, okay.
So basically, the high and low were thrown out. The high was high, and it was thorough. It was the low wasn't quite as detailed. There were 2 very close. We discussed those, and it was just decided that I won't say lack of experience. Let me phrase this: the scope of the work. Because let's face it, Eric knows the planes, knows what, been around long enough. He thought the scope of the work, they were underestimating it. So then you go up and you look at the last 2 that were very, I want to say, they were thorough. And they had pointed out a few factors that, Jesus God Almighty, I just shut this damn thing off. There was a spec that was residential wire, they pointed out was actually incorrect. Residential use. There were a few factors that on those 2 that were in the final analysis. If I knew how to run this damn thing. We came down to 2, and they were both qualified, but looking at it, and I believe both qualified, but if one's from Gilmanton and one's from Kingston, he's accessible. I know he's reliable, he's a proven, I know him, but it's very difficult to consider without bias. But I think it's the best for the town. I think it was a good decision, and do I think the less expensive bids probably would well, they have to, it's electrical work. They have to pass the code. Do I think, in his opinion, they underestimated the scope of the work a little bit? We could award it and they might do fine, they might lose their shirt. But that's how we came to it.
Okay, so just so that everyone is clear, we're not obligated to make a choice only on price.
Right.
We should be considering qualifications and overall,
And that's why,
overall factors.
well, yeah, I took it as the board asked for a qualified electrician, because I look at that and I go, I don't know the electrical code, so if it was on a price basis, that would have been fairly simple. That's a phone call in. Yeah, hey, he won. It's it's the center of town. It's a substantial project. So I took the board's direction as that it holds some weight. We just don't want if I'm going to buy a lollipop, I'll go buy the cheap one and we'll call it a day. But if we're asking for electricians to review it, I don't think price is the only factor.
No, it is a factor, though.
It is.
And because we don't have this in front of us, Tom,
Right.
what I'd like to know at least is, of the 6, the one that you're recommending, where is it in the price
Where is
rankings?
it? So, and I didn't really do many copies. That's right too, because you guys, I'm sorry about that. We gave them back. You can certainly peruse them. He is, besides the 2 I felt were on the low end, high end, he's about right in the center. There were 2 very close, and the 2 that we were considering were 39 and 42. The 2 on the lower end were 33, 34. Both came in about the same number. And then there was a 27 and a 44. So that's where we're at.
I always like to give contracts to locals if we can do that, because it's their town, our town, and they invest a lot of energy and take great pride in the work that they do in the community. So I'm good with awarding it locally.
I'm just going to read the numbers just so that
Yeah.
folks in the room and who might be listening at least get the benefit of hearing it, because I didn't remember what the numbers were.
Okay.
We looked at them when we first got the bids.
Fair enough.
So Kingston Electric was 39,614.95. Live Free Electrical from Gilmanton, 42,500. VG Electric, also from Kingston, 33,901.44.
Never heard of that.
All Solution Electric out of Fremont, total of 33,830. Campbell Electric out of Northwood, total of 44,529. And Keller Electric out of Epping at 27,179.55. So that must have been the low one.
Yeah.
Lowest one. Couple in the 40s.
Do you need a motion?
Well, we are going to need a motion. Couple of minutes around the 33,000 roughly. 42.5, and Kingston Electric at 39,614.95. So a little on the higher end, not the highest, but a little bit on the higher end than some of the others. Yep. So based on that, does the board have enough information to move forward with this and make a recommendation, or do you need some other information that, from Tom?
I move that we award the bid to Kingston Electric for the amount of $39,614.95.
Motion by Ellie, second by Ellen. Further discussion.
I think I would just like, I know it's going to be reflected in the minutes, but just to have it, maybe a formal, never mind, doesn't matter.
A formal recommendation from,
Yeah, from the highway agent.
Okay, yep.
well, that, I mean, you gave it to us verbally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you could provide Susan with
Sure.
with an email to that effect.
Yep,
So we have something for the file.
Yep.
And if you want to make any points in there about, I mean, you explained it here, but why you made that recommendation,
Yeah.
that would be helpful, I think.
yeah.
Okay. Further discussion? I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? So that's unanimous. Now, we can't award this just yet, because what needs to happen now, we need to hold a public hearing to secure the funding for it. So the decision should probably be pending successful outcome of that public hearing, which will happen, I believe, next Monday? Next Monday, because it's scheduled and it's noticed.
It is scheduled, it is noticed. I hate the fact that we're doing it next Monday, because it's at 9 o'clock in the morning, and if anyone does have any comments, how can they come to it? Isn't next week our morning meeting?
It is.
And it's at 9 o'clock. I
And
understand
then,
it's posted and the whole thing, but...
and then the week after, we don't meet because it's the holiday.
Well-
I know it's a timing issue.
I'll just throw this out there. Of course, the longer you delay, you never know what, everything's price is subject to change. But the fact is, we can't really do any digging on the plains until, who knows? Until the monitoring wells and the DES says,
Right.
good for you. And I'm anticipating, and I've told all of them, I said, we're moving ahead, getting the quotes, but my guess would be you might be in July, August at best. So you may be able to, 1st of June, have a nighttime infrastructure meeting.
When I saw that it was 9 o'clock in the morning on a Monday, I'm like, oh. I just,
Well, we could do it at our next available night meeting, which
that's
would,
okay with every- I
which
don't
would be
wanna-
in early June.
I don't want to screw up the project, but as you say, if that's not going to really delay it,
It's not really
I'd
gonna
just rather
delay.
have the public hearing at night. I don't expect to have a large turnout for this, but,
If any,
yeah, but I'd like
Well,
people to have the opportunity if they
Right.
choose to.
If time were of the essence, I'd say we should keep the schedule, but that isn't the case because we do need to get this environmental work done on the plains before any digging can happen, so the vendor's been chosen, the vendor knows this, and we will move the public hearing to the first available night meeting, whatever that date is, Susan. Well, hang on. June 2nd. So we'll do it on June 2nd. So you can repost that, Susan? I shall.
Thank you.
You can and you shall. Okay. All right, thank you, Tom. Congratulations to Kingston Electric. Appreciate it. And to all the other folks who took the time to submit their bids. Okay. Tom? No, not that Tom, the other Tom. This one. I'm going to ask Susan to, you can sit. I'm just going to let you know that I'm going to ask Susan to keep the front stairs railings on the agenda to put it on for our next meeting, and so that we make sure to keep track of it and get an update from you? Okay. All right, new business. It's Now it's capital improvement time that I was
Like
thinking
you
of.
forgot the 2025 tax warrant now.
Oh,
That's what you keep me around for.
well, no, it's the one after that. I'm getting to it, but capital CIP is first.
You're right,
See,
even better.
you checked
I
it off,
jumped it,
and it
yeah,
wasn't done.
It wasn't done.
And
Oh, stop.
I said nonsense, it's not important.
Before you go away. All right, I'm back.
You can't lose their sense of humor, you know that.
no. It's hard to find these days,
I
too.
know. In between all the other crapola.
Well, we have a communication from Planning Board regarding the capital improvement plan process, which has begun. And for the life of me, I thought it was in that folder, but maybe it's
You want
in,
my copy?
oh, it's in our individual folders.
Yes.
Oh, there it is.
Right on top.
Look at that.
Almost.
Well, sort of. Okay, so I think as most of you recall, this is an annual activity. It's a planning tool for the Select Board and the Budget Committee to help even out large capital expenses and how the town pays for them and by what means the town pays for them. And the first part of the process is gathering input from all the town departments on their wish list of capital projects, and that's what this memo from the town planner is explaining. There's also a copy of the spreadsheet from the current capital improvement plan, showing you from 2025 to 2030 and where various projects are anticipated to happen. Now, again, it's a wish list and it's a planning tool, so it's not a document that's set in stone, because sometimes projects change as far as the timing, sometimes they go away. The funding sources can change. Some of it depends on warrant articles, if that's how they're going to be funded. Anyway, the Select Board has been included in the distribution to all the departments to ask if we have any projects that we would like to put on the list. And so there's a form that for us to fill out, should we wish to do so. Oh gosh, they included multiple forms in case we have multiple projects. So.
That's how efficient Robin is.
Yeah. So, so I'm just going to read the last paragraph here, because all the rest of the letter from the town planner sort of explains the process. But let me read the last part. It says, attached are blank project worksheets to be completed by each department. Thank you for your assistance and input in the CIP process. Please note, there is an area to be checked verifying that the department has reviewed the request with the Board of Selectmen. Please review with the Board of Selectmen prior to submitting your worksheets. So this is a piece of the process that had been implemented several years back and then kind of got away from it. But by having departments come and present to us before they turn them into the planning board, at least gives us an idea of overall what's going on in the town with regard to requests. So we should be, if this happens, we should be seeing requests that other departments are putting in so that we have a chance to view them and weigh in if we wish. We would very much appreciate your completed worksheets be returned to the planning board office by June 12, as the existing project spreadsheet has been attached to remind you of your department's projects already on schedule. Please indicate in your submission if the existing program years are still viable for the projects. Okay, and it's asking for departments to submit them to the town planner office. Okay, so if we look at the existing spreadsheet for the CIP, right now there's only one project on there, and it's scheduled for this year, and it's the perambulation of town boundaries. And there's a dollar amount in there. I honestly don't know. I don't recall if we budgeted for that, and I don't recall what the, can anybody recall? We did discuss it, and I believe it was when Phil was our DPW director, but I don't recall what the outcome was, about how we were gonna do this and if we were gonna do this. It's something that we're supposed to do periodically.
It's by law, but I think Phil did reach out to several of the towns and did some of them. Yep, I don't know where he left off.
So it's at least partly done? Okay, they're not hearing you out. Tom, could you just You see, Ellen, you're not the only one to get the wrap on the window.
Yeah, so, it was partially done, so they did some in Brentwood last year. We touched base just now with Exeter. There's a couple with Exeter, but the funding of, that's, I have to do more research, and I'll probably be reaching out to Phil to have him fill me in on the details, because we'll be touching base with Danville, and it does have to be done every 7 years by law.
Each town every 7 years, I think.
It's been a while since we've
And they're all,
done it.
Yeah.
passed.
I think that all the surrounding, they're all kind of in the same boat.
Yeah.
We haven't done it for,
And depending how it's done, you could have, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money to do it.
right.
So that's why we need to coordinate with our neighbors.
And most of from what I understand, the limited experience I've had in this so far, there it is, it's out in, beside this road, beside that road, there it is, take a picture, GPS it. I know Exeter, the one I was speaking with the gentleman from Exeter, that was missing, about 12 years ago, it was gone. So there's your expense. If it's missing, then there's survey, there's resetting a bound, that's the expense. Otherwise, it's just to get together with my fellow towns and just walking through the woods, trying to find where in this stone wall, there's so that's, but I think with what I'm gonna do anyhow, or I hope to do, is, I know there's, northwest of this, blah, blah, blah. We're gonna take the GPS and just, right over it, so make it simpler, hopefully, in the future. But yeah, I don't think the monetary end shouldn't come in unless there's a major problem, like somebody stole one, or,
Okay,
like that.
so it is, thanks, Tom. So it is on the CIP calendar for this year. It's underway, and so we'll, at this point, I would ask that we not request it to be kept on the CIP. For next year, we should be wrapped up with it. Okay. So then the question is, does the board have other items? And let me read the paragraph that explains what a capital project is. And it's on the first page. It's the bolded paragraph, italicized. Any project involving financing by bonded indebtedness, or the acquisition or development of any real property, or the extension of any utility service, regardless of its cost or expenditure, for a project or facility having a useful life of at least 3 years and requiring a gross expenditure of at least $10,000, excluding yearly scheduled vehicle replacement. So I would argue that the project that we just talked about, upgrading the electric on the planes, probably should be on the CIP. I realize it's 2025 is going to drop off because the next CIP will start in 2026 and go out for 6 years.
And the planning board did change a couple things on that last Tuesday night. They changed it to a minimum of $25,000 instead of 10. They upped.
They upped it.
And they changed the deadline to June 30th for input.
Okay, great.
Oh, that's good.
Great.
They did Tuesday night.
That's good, because that was gonna be short to get everybody in.
Okay,
And
so
my microphone is on.
Mine wasn't.
so the dollar amount still, the
But the electrical plan
electrical
is
work
still
on the
in
plane,
works,
still quiet.
right.
Oh, by the way, look at the gorgeous sun,
I know, it's
the sky over
Too
there.
bad we
It's
can't see
View
it.
of it over here.
spectacular. Okay.
This side knows good.
Even though we're anticipating starting the project in 2025, and we probably will get it done, I mean, what does the board think of at least putting it in here, just so that it's
We
mentioned?
can. It doesn't hurt to put it on there, in case we don't.
So what you're saying is they're doing it for 2026 through 2030,
Right.
or 2031?
So it's going to be after the fact, and whether or
Yep.
not that's even appropriate, I don't know.
Yeah,
It might not be
I don't
appropriate.
think it matters.
It's probably, if we had thought about it, maybe it's something we
Yeah.
might have put on last
I
year.
don't think it matters.
We weren't there.
All right, so let's forget that then. How about,
The town hall.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a
Which-
couple things on here.
But they're probably related to things that are on here under, like, buildings and grounds?
They are building and grounds, rehabilitating the main meeting room, and then replacing the HVAC, but I don't know if that's part of phase two.
It would be.
They were part of phase two, right? Okay,
But there's a lot more to phase two
yeah,
than those things.
and I think Anthony had talked about the cupola is a major
Whole other
thing.
project in and of itself.
Right. He included it in phase two, but he specifically called that out as something that we should address.
I think that should be in the CIP, the town hall phase two. We have to look at the plans, because they're not that good.
We don't have numbers.
We
yet
don't
to
have
work.
numbers to put in.
Yeah,
No, but that's,
Until we have numbers, we really can't put it in here.
can't you ask your engineer to give you approximate costs?
Well, that's a whole nother discussion. We haven't even gone through the plans yet, really.
Plans aren't good, but my opinion, I looked at them, they were shoddy. But, for example, they have, Chelsea will know why I'm saying that, they have the planning board administrative assistant in one room and the planner in another room.
Well, that's not too good.
No, that's what I'm saying, I'm like, really? You can't put them in the same room? So I don't think, I'm not sure how much thought went into some of the locations of what they did, but that was just my first review of it. They have people who are working in the same areas, split up in different rooms across the halls, and I thought, okay.
Maybe they didn't really want to do this project.
Maybe the cupola,
yeah.
you could probably get an estimate for just the cupola and put it on, and
I'm just saying, if you get it, we probably, let people start to know that it could be a project that's coming up. That one,
Or do we call out different things in our,
we can think about that and come back.
we can't
to it
just
next
say the
week.
whole thing. I mean, we should call out different parts of it, and we need a lot of analysis. We have to review that stuff. We haven't even reviewed it.
Yeah.
We have time.
also, last year, a lot of these things went from selectmen to buildings and grounds, so I'm not sure where they belong at this point. But that's something to talk about too, whether they're gonna come under highway.
I will reach out to SMP, see if they have,
Some guidance.
a rough ballpark of a number, say for the cupola, and maybe for the other piece of the project, the building itself, the interior, and I'll get back to you. All right, now, Ellie, is your 2025 tax warrant to sign. This is from the town clerk tax collector. This is something we have to do. I'm assuming it's annual, if not semi-annual. It's required by RSA 41:29, and it authorizes the tax collector, to collect our taxes.
Okay.
I have a motion. We all need to sign this. So we don't even need a motion. We have to do this. So I'm going to go ahead and sign it and pass it around.
Okay, sounds good.
That was taken care of by the assessor today, so.
Start with Lori, and then you can pass it back to us, and I'll move it on. Okay, we've taken care of, we're now under board business. We've taken care of the electrical award. Okay, we have the bids for the wage and compensate wage and benefits, compensation and benefits study that we sent out. We got 6 replies. So I'll start there. You can, if you want, you can pass these down. Some of them are bigger boxes, some of them are.
And this is for the wage study.
Yes. Oh, would you rather, I can open this for you?
Yeah.
Well, I think that should get you where you need to go.
Yep.
While you're opening, do you want me to set a date for the departments to have their CIP back to you
Sure.
at a meeting? So like
Yes,
be the
it's,
second meeting in June.
they're due on the 30th. So we should see them
Look at
by,
our meeting schedule first.
well, it would be and we're on to our every other week schedule at that point.
Yeah.
Right,
So if we don't do it by June 2nd, it would be 2 weeks after that, which would be
be the
just
16th.
Okay. Let's do that.
What's that?
Under correspondence, does she need to note that we signed that?
Yes,
Yes, yep.
yes, and this is the tax collector's warrant, property tax levy.
If you need copies of any of those things, I'll
Do you
give them.
want me to start?
Yes, and, yes, please.
Okay, so we're opening the wage matrix, what are we calling it? Compensation benefit study. So I opened the proposal from McGrath Human Resources Group, and they're based out of Jamestown, Tennessee. They've included, you know, their process, how they're gonna do it, some resumes on the people who would be performing it, a 4-month timeline to complete the task with the compensation benefit study for estimated 46 titles plus travel, because they're out of state, for a total of $31,525.
That's exclusive of travel?
It's
inclusive.
inclusive of travel. The travel is 7,000, so the study itself would have been 24,525.
Susan, did you get that?
Yep,
Okay.
I'll take them anyway.
Ellie, would you like to go,
Yes, I can.
please?
The bid I opened was from Evergreen Solutions LLC out of Tallahassee, Florida. See a road trip in the future if you go there. The proposed proposal is for $34,500. The price is all inclusive. It includes travel, cost, meals, lodging, transportation, benefits, indirect, and cost overhead. 2 on-site visits to the town to perform the requested work, as most of the work can be conducted virtually. Any work outside of the scope of work will be billed at $150 per hour, or would be negotiated depending on the type of work being requested. Then it has a timeline of payments broken down into 5 pieces, but the proposed cost is for $34,500. And they have two detailed copies of their work scope, one an original and a copy.
Okay, thank you. You got that, Susan? Peter, are you ready to talk about yours?
So I opened it up from Gallagher. So this company Gallagher, let's see, we're either out of Louisiana, Texas, Wyoming, another spot in Texas. They gave us a price range, inclusive of all tasks, will not exceed a low range of $34,575 and a high range of $54,575. keep in mind, $20,000 of the bid is for pre-planned travel and expenses.
Pre-planned?
Pre-planned travel and expenses, 20,000 flat. That's part of that 34, so 34,575 to 54,575. See what again, Laura. And that's Gallagher. Locations that appears all over the country. Gallagher. Yep.
Ellen, please.
This looks like it's from salary.com. Excuse me. They have done similar studies in the Boston Public Schools Administration, City of Boston, Hillsbury County Sheriff's Office, Fremont Sanitation District. They're out of Arizona, I believe I saw. Yep. And they have, excuse me, for the project itself is $35,000. On-site meetings, 3 in-person meetings, and the pricing includes consultant time and travel expenses at $10,500. So the grand total for the project would be $45,500. It would be in 2 equal segments of $22,750. And that would be the initial payment, then there'd be the final, and if actual hours exceed 241 hours, additional fees will be billed at the rate of $150 an hour and be subject to a fully executed amendment to this. And clients will be notified in advance if additional billing is expected. They do have all types of information on who would be doing the work and their backgrounds and everything else.
Okay. The first one, there were 2 more to go. The first one I have is from PayPoint HR LLC, located in Davidsonville, Maryland. And talks about the consulting rate, blah, blah, blah. The total firm fixed price fee would be $28,500.
What was the name of the company?
PayPoint HR LLC. Now, I believe that in the RFP, we required some in-person meetings. I don't recall how many, but I don't see that called out separately. But they do provide a firm fixed price of $28,500. So that's that one. And the final one is from Municipal Resources, Inc., out of Plymouth, New Hampshire.
It's a fucking wagon, mayonnaise jar.
You're gonna have to bear with me while I figure out which page the pricing is on. Okay. Services will be provided on a lump sum fee basis that is intended to cover all professional time and expenses. The process will be completed for a lump sum fee of $19,500. This fee represents all costs associated with completing the specified services, including all consulting fees, clerical support, travel costs, printing costs, telephone costs, and other incidental costs associated with the project. And then it lists a payment schedule, and so, and that's number 6. Plymouth, New Hampshire.
I have to tell you, Glenn, to be truthful with you, I kind of was rushed when I was trying to look through this stuff as you were trying to get information.
Yep.
This thing's pretty thorough. This 25 years, most of the employees have been with this company for 25 years. This is, they got 16 week long, and they tell you what they're doing every single week. They got it right down to there's 3 copies of it. This might be just interesting to look at. I feel like I didn't give it justice. We just kind of threw out the numbers.
Well,
but I think this is pretty, this is a pretty involved,
well, at this
document.
point, the purpose was to open the bids, because we said when we were going to open them, and we did. We announced who the bidders were, what the bottom line prices are, and usually when we open bids, we don't just make a decision on an award. We take some time to review them, and we would go into, more detail like we did with like Tom did with the electrical bids.
Yep.
So at this point, we've announced the bids, who they are and the prices, and we should probably decide how we're going to review these and make a recommendation on a choice.
I know that sometimes things can be moved around and stuff, but I think we have a budget of 20,000.
We do.
Okay.
Well, obviously, in this case, price is a real factor. I mean, we do have a budget item. It was put in through the budget committee and the budgeting process at the end of last year. But I still think that we need to go through them, take a look, and make a valid recommendation. Is anybody chomping at the bit to do this? Would you like, I mean, I'm happy to participate. Do you want someone else to work on it?
I'm happy to tabulate what's here and compare them to a degree and have someone else work with me to get to the detail part.
Well, I think that would be good if we could kind of put everything onto, the 6 of them onto and, trying to compare apples to apples as best we can. That would be helpful. Agreed?
Yeah.
Okay. So Susan, if you could do that, and once you've done that, let me know and we can talk about it. At that point,
Yeah, I'm happy to assist Susan after you get the initial part done.
Probably work on it tomorrow since I don't have to do minutes.
You're gonna have all this time left.
is the board okay with that?
Yes.
Moving forward with that? Okay.
I offered to assist.
And before I move on, just a thank you to the 6 firms that took the time to put in a bid. We appreciate that. Okay. Oh, don't do that, Ellen. Okay, in the, let's see, we have,
Those will be in the orange folder.
these are in the orange folder. These are their land use change taxes. When we go through the folder, we'll talk about those. Well, actually, we're ready to go to that folder, I think.
I think so.
Public comment number 2.
Yeah, right.
We've had it.
I take that as a no, for now.
I think it's safe.
But thanks for the reminder, Peter. Okay, we're going to move on. Everyone signed everything in the purple folder?
Yep.
The payments and checks, okay. All right. I'm taking this out of order,
It
but
doesn't matter.
but
Just
we-
go ahead as they are.
we have the 2 signed contracts,
Yes, we have to sign the 2 contracts.
and we can just go ahead and sign those.
That's right.
All right. I will do that. Is it, I assume it's all of us, right?
All
Yes.
the ones I have.
It is. It is.
I sent them to Merv.
Once you have them, I'll start signing. Now, you want to sign them first?
I'll sign it, and then I'll pass it on.
Tom, do you need these back, the electrical? Okay. Got all your information? Okay.
No, that was already signed and done. These are 2 employment contracts that we had, and they're all set regarding the,
They were already approved.
I can mention who they're for, can't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sarah, they were for the fire chief and the police chief. Yes. Yes. So they're the employment contracts, renewal of the employment contracts, and so that's being signed off on. Let's see. Susan, you're going to have to help me with this one. This is from Sanborn Head.
Yep, that is a change order. They were going to have some of their expenses covered by the grant because they were coordinating with Verdantis. They were told they couldn't do that, so they added it back into their regular site investigation. So that's where it wasn't straight across the board. They took something down and added that back in, so. But this is just saying that their expenses going forward are going to be billed to us differently than originally thought.
So we had hoped to bill some of this to the grant, and we were told by DES that
We can't.
we can't. So this is an adjustment to that. It's actually it's a sizable increase in this order. It's $8,604.60. Now, we do have a budget item for this. Is this going to mean that we exceed that and we're going to have to?
This is Sanborn Head?
Yep.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the budget and see what she's got in there for them.
Do you want an answer on that before we sign off on it?
We have to do it anyways.
Well, I realize that, but is that what you said? Well, that's,
I said I'd like to know where the money's coming from first. I get that we have to, and I have no problem with anybody else.
I can look into it anyway, even though,
I'd rather know where it's coming from before I sign it. So,
Well, you would go against that line item, and if it goes red, it goes red, but we don't have a choice, and
I realize.
so what would be the delay in signing it? I mean, there's a line item, so if we're gonna do truth in budgeting, it would go against that line item, and
Well,
if
it
it,
has to go against the line item, but
Right.
no one seems to know how much is in that line. That's my question.
okay,
And the argument is that we have to find it somewhere, even if that line gets exceeded. So.
right.
So we could sign it next week. I mean, we're spending a lot of time deciding when to sign it or not. We could wait till next week when we know how much is in that line item and when
If
the
you get 3
overage.
people who sign it, it doesn't matter, and I can always come in the next day.
Well, it
and
actually
check them
only
out.
needs my signature.
Then do what you need to.
do you want to come in and sign it after I check
We
the
can always
budget?
discuss next week if the line went over and where the money's gonna come from.
Susan will check the numbers and call me in and I will sign it, once we know where it is.
Perfect.
Okay, Susan, help me out. We have 2 more employment agreements. We've already signed them, and there's another copy in here to sign.
Oh, you know what, these are I'm sorry, these are the ones that the employees signed. Those were my original copies, have been languishing in there, I'll bet. So you have them here, the signed copies. So you did the right thing, those are
want-
extra. Yeah,
Please dispose of those, thank
I
you.
shall.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just taking this stuff that's in the folder as it comes. I don't know how it falls on the agenda. We have a request for an appointment to the Recreation Commission for Patricia Gavin, I think it's pronounced. This is for a 3-year term to expire March 31, 2028. Lori, do you know if this person is already on the Rec Commission, or if this is...
She's been helping, she had shown up earlier, and she actually was here last week.
She was here last week mentioning she wanted to stay
Right,
on.
because she's gonna work mostly with the older population, so yeah, she's already been helping out. And she's been on and it lapsed, and so we're just kind of catching
A
up.
long
the-
time
Yeah,
Kingston resident, too.
yeah.
Okay, may I have a motion then to appoint Patricia to this term?
Second,
Peter, motion. Laura, Ellie, second.
thank you.
Discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Next one is an appointment to the Heritage Commission as an alternate member to expire on March 31, 2028 for Steve Sousa. Steve has been volunteering with the Heritage Commission. He's been doing all the videotaping of their events and has been doing a really nice job. And there is not a full-time spot on the commission at this point that's open, so he would be an alternate member.
He'd be terrific. He was a former library trustee as well, and I move that we appoint Steve Sousa to the...
Second.
All right, motion by Ellie, second by Ellen. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? That's unanimous. And a blanket thank you to all these individuals who are stepping up to volunteer for committees and boards. Okay, we have 3 land use tax change forms to fill out. It appears that the first one,
There's 2 that don't generate a
Right.
tax bill. The third one will,
The
that's
third one will.
Unitil.
right, and this is one, change in ownership disqualifies, 0 bill because it happened in 2004. So this apparently was discovered after the fact, but we still have to sign off on it. And it's for, what property is it? Damn it. Magnuson Farm, 261 Route 125. Next one, change in ownership disqualifies property after subdivision. The bill is 0 because this happened in 2021. And this is for Church Street in Kingston, New Hampshire. I don't think I need to give you tax map numbers, but we do need to sign off on this.
The assessor was obviously cleaning up our current use files. Finding some stuff.
The next one actually does generate income for the town. This is for the property that Unitil has developed on Toll Road for the new solar farm facility, and because that's changing use, I believe the land use change tax on that results in $52,053 to the town.
That's where your Sam One-Head income is coming from.
Well, that could very well be the case.
Just saying. Well, it's called cash flow. In all of these, I changed my middle initials correctly.
Oh, okay.
It's,
And we have a volunteer service statement and agreement for John Michael Kuhn of Circuit Drive in Kingston. You know about this one, Lori?
Yeah, he's been helping out for the last 2 weekends at the collection center. Yep,
And we need to sign off on this.
yep. And it just so happens the last 2 times it's been pouring rain. And he keeps coming back, so it's fantastic.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, did you? He's a good guy.
There's that one, Ellie. And we can pass these to Lori, please.
These are all set, these
These are all set.
what are we doing with the employment agreements?
I don't know. We're going to have to file them, but we need to also probably get copies to.
Do they get a copy and we keep the original?
Yes, yep.
I can take care of it then.
I'll let you put some where it belongs.
I told the board there were 2 pages to sign.
Oh, that's right, that one has 2 pages. All right, the next, while we're finishing up signatures, approval of meeting minutes, both public and non-public, from May 5.
There are a couple of corrections to them, so you can say as amended based on that. Those notes are with your minutes. Anything else anybody has?
All right, so the motion would be as amended.
So move.
Minutes of last. The amendments are in your packet, I believe, right?
On top of your minutes, there should be a highlighted.
Highlighted.
Yep.
Last page, since this meeting, the tech was able to use the recording of the post beginning of the meeting, per standard procedure. Adding in per standard procedure.
I'm sorry, what did it say?
Since this meeting, the tech was able to use the recording to post the beginning of the meeting per standard procedure. It doesn't say per standard procedure. I believe that should be added to.
Oh, you think it should say that? I'm like, I
Yes.
don't remember writing that. Okay. Per standard procedure, got it.
Anything else? All right, take a motion then to approve the minutes as amended.
So, second.
Moved by Ellen, second by Ellie. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? That's unanimous. Do we need any more non-public tonight?
No,
No?
I've had enough.
Well, I think we all have.
And I know that.
But
So
If
was
we
that
have to-
motion for the non-public as well, or just public as amended?
Public and non-public.
public and non-public.
All right.
Yep. Any other business? There being none, we'll call ourselves adjourned at 8:40, whatever.